On today's Locked On Wizards, we talk about team-oriented basketball, why the Wizards didn't do enough of that in 2024, and why that needs to change in 2025 in order for the franchise to take the next step forward in this rebuild. This is Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, this is Locked On Wizards, where you're a part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ben Strober. Cover all things DC sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. You can check me out on Twitter or Instagram at Strober Sports. Alongside, as always, the great Abdullah, a DC sports content creating savant. Check out his Instagram page, the DMV Sports Zone page. AB, how was your weekend?
Great, man. Football season's coming up, and that means basketball season is just around the corner. Sports is finally back. No more of the dog days.
I mean, that's what I've been thinking this whole time during the preseason. Like, all right, we're close to the regular season for the Commanders, which one has me hype. I'm going to be locked into that all fall long. And by the time the Commanders season officially starts, you get 6 weeks into the regular season, and Wizards basketball will be on. So it's going to make the time fly by, and we're going to continue to fly by with the shows as we move forward here on Locked On Wizards. We got a lot to get to today. The main focus for today's episode is the Wizards getting back to more team-oriented basketball. And I know it's a little bit tough to make of what that looks like because of the lack of talent that there's been on the roster for the past couple years since it started this complete teardown and rebuild, why the numbers are skewed so far down from where they were in years past where you had guys like John Wall making plays for this team, but how that can change as we move forward and why it's important for the Wizards in taking the next step and seeing guys develop. We're going to talk about why this ISO type of basketball that we've seen from the Wizards, especially last year, is not good for the development of our young guys, all of the young studs we have on this team, under 24 years old, 12 players to be exact, that are all going to need some love with the basketball, and why a new concept offensively, a complete philosophy shift, is going to make a lot of sense for this team. And then third segment, we'll get you an update on Bilal Coulibaly and Alex Sarr, playing in the Eurobasket in France. We'll touch on Kyshawn George as well, who's been playing for Canada. So a lot of good stuff to get to today in Locked On Wizards. So the main point I wanted to bring up here today, AB, and I was just sitting there brainstorming today thinking, about this Wizards team from last year and the glaring things that stuck out to me for a 64-loss team. And a lot of possessions I noticed with this team, and especially with Alex Sarr, early on when he struggled in the first half of the season last year. A lot of opportunities that he was getting, he was trying to create his own shot, even from the mid-range, which I found kind of weird because Alex Sarr, even though he is a guy that is good with the basketball in his hands, he can move pretty well for a 7-footer and dribble the basketball. I thought to myself, why is Alex Sarr, taking these kind of low percentage shots where he has the basketball in his hands and he essentially creates his own shot around the mid-range off the dribble? I feel like he would benefit for being a guy that's a lob threat around the rim, or he has a true point guard trying to make a play for him. We didn't see a whole lot of that last year. I know that's because Jordan Poole was just not necessarily that type of point guard for this team. And not to put any knock on Jordan Poole, because I think his role was very serviceable for what he did for the Wizards last year. And ultimately the front office decides to move on, which I feel like was the right decision for this organization to move forward. But with that being said, I feel like with the plethora of talent that you have on this roster now, young guys that need the basketball in order to really develop, you're going to have playmaking be a big part of that. You're going to have players that can get these guys opportunities to get good looks with the basketball. I don't feel like we can play this game where you're trying to go unassisted the whole time.
Especially if you're trying to be competitive, Ben. A lot of games last year when you're down by 30, 40, and it doesn't help when one guy's just chucking up three-pointers when there's a 2-on-1, 3-on-2. And to me, Ben, there shouldn't be any excuses right now because Jordan Poole was ball dominant. Some of the shots that he was taking were a little questionable, even though he would make it at times. But now you don't really have that ball hog anymore. You don't have a Kyle Kuzma who clearly doesn't want to be here, and the body language is terrible. You have guys that are buying into the culture here in Washington, which brings me to a question, Ben, that maybe we can answer this now or later. But who do you think? We can do top three guys that you think are going to take the most shots on this team. Do you think Trey Johnson should fall in the top 3? I get it. He's probably not going to play as much in the beginning of the season because CJ McCollum's taking that starting spot. But do you think the number one guy on this team? I was thinking about it. Like, for me, it's a mix between Bub and Alex, but I want Alex to be that guy just because, again, last year we saw the offensive flashes, and if he only gets that post game right, I mean, he needs to be more aggressive, man. We keep reiterating this. 7 foot. I think if he can develop that mid range game and develop that post game defensively, he's already getting there. He's only going to get better. So, what do you think? I know I'm throwing you a curveball here.
Well, I think if Alex Sarr wants to truly develop as an offensive player, he's going to have to take probably the most shots on this team overall. You want a guy who's 7 foot and plays around the rim to have the most shot attempts, but you need him to be a lot more efficient. I think the reason that Alex Sarr lacked some efficiency, especially early on last year, was because he wasn't taking very good shots. I expect that to be a little bit better here in number 2. He just has a little bit more confidence to his game, a little more basketball IQ to him. Now that he's been in the league for an entire season, he's gotten the feel for what NBA defenses are like. But I want to see more of guys making plays for him. I know that's going to put a lot on Bub Carrington. Does he have the ability to break down the defense, get to the basket, and make plays for other players? I'm not sure, but all I can say right now about this roster, and I know this is a big proclamation actually for Trey Johnson, out of all the guys on the team right now, I'll give CJ McCollum this nod as well because he's a proven scorer in this league. I don't think anybody really can go out there and just get a bucket for you on this team outside of CJ McCollum, Trey Johnson, and then maybe Cam Whitmore. Out of all the other dudes on this team, I would not say any of those guys really possess a skill where you could give him the basketball and say, go score. I don't think anybody really has that type of skill set on this team outside of those 3 guys. And with that being said, if you want people to develop offensively, like Bilal Coulibaly, if he finds himself playing in a 3-and-D role at some point with Washington, but we want to see him get better as a shooter. How is that going to happen? If you have guys that are making plays, if the ball movement is good for this team. Kyshawn George, who can shoot it really well from the outside and also do some other nifty things with the basketball. This is all going to come from team-oriented play, though. You want to have the ball moving constantly, so the defenses have to rotate around. People will have to account for that. That's going to open things up for other players to make plays with the basketball in their hands. We cannot see any of this ice ball that we saw with Jordan Poole last year, and I know for a large extent for years prior to that, Kyle Kuzma was a guy where you just gave him the basketball at the high post, turn his back to the basket, and the ball would end up going up. It was a black hole every time. I don't want to see that style of basketball for the Wizards this year because I just really don't think it helps anybody develop their game offensively.
And even before that, it was Bradley Beal scoring 50 to 60 points, but we still would end up losing by 10 to 15 points. I was going to go back to Bilal, Ben. This year, there's no excuse for him to be inconsistent when it comes to shooting the ball. There are games last year we saw where stretches where he would 5 shots a game, and the next game 2 shots, but the next game 11. There has to be a consistent basis because, again, there's not the excuse of having Kyle Kuzma taking up your shots. So Bilal Coulibaly, that year 3 jump that we're always talking about, in order for that to happen, the first thing is he has to be confidence. And I think his jump shot, we're going to get to it, has been looking better, the mechanics and whatnot. But being aggressive, a guy who's so freaking athletic, he can go to the free throw line, as he can dunk on a lot of these dudes. I want to see him in the dunk contest. That's how athletic I think this dude is. And there's so many athletic dudes on this team compared to where this roster was a couple of years ago. So going back to Bilal, and this goes back to team basketball, utilize the pick and rolls, the pick and pops, the back screens. A lot of NBA basketball today, again, you want to shoot the 3, ISO ball, but the great teams, the ones that win championships, run those plays. And right now, this all goes back to Coach Keefe, I'm pretty sure as well. Can he design plays and can he utilize his player strengths? There's a lot of youth on this team, and you have and for Coach Keefe, and this is a thing that I'm looking to say, hey, can he be the one that takes us to the championship? Is utilize people to their strengths. Years back, I know you guys remember Scott Brooks, Denny Avdia, who we thought had so much potential, putting him in the corner when we knew he wasn't a 3-point shooter. We wanted him to see become a ball handler. When he eventually became that ball handler role, he had a career night against the Atlanta Hawks. So coaching does matter, and I think Coach Keefe can be that guy. But again, we'll just have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. I got some numbers to break down the Wizards' assist totals and some other metrics that have indicated that they've just been very poor as a team playmaking. I know a big part of that is because they just don't have the necessary dudes to really score a lot, so that'll play a part of it. The Wizards were bottom 6 in assists per game by team. They're also bottom 6 in assist-to-pass percentage, which was a really abysmal 8.6%. So, they're not necessarily, it's not that they're making the right passes or whatever, but they're just not generating enough opportunities off the pass compared to other teams. And when you look at the top of this list, teams that were the top for assist to pass percentage, the Denver Nuggets at around 11 per game, one of the best teams in the NBA last year. Cleveland Cavaliers, the Grizzlies, who won nearly 50 games. Oklahoma City Thunder were top 5 in that category. So those teams all make very well for themselves. So that's going to be a big part of the development. I'm not saying it's going to have to be perfect for the Wizards this year, obviously, because they're not going to win a lot of games. But I think it has to be better. There has to be more of a point of emphasis from this team offensively, maybe to switch the way it's thought than it did in previous seasons. And I think we are going to see that change this year because obviously you have a plethora of guys that are coming off the wing. How are those guys going to get the basketball in their hands? They're going to have somebody distribute to them. It's not going to be a situation where whoever's the three on the floor, whether it's Bilal, Kyshawn, Cam Whitmore, where they're just going to bring the ball up the floor and go from there. I think we're going to have to see the Wizards run a very effective offense that generates open looks for guys. And guys are going to have to move well without the basketball as well. I know that's something that Bub Carrington did really well last year when he played in the backcourt alongside Jordan Poole, but now the role will be much different for him here in year number 2.
And also there's so much people on the wing. You have Will Riley. He's a rookie who has some potential. Corey Kispert is still on this roster. So it's going to be really interesting to see, Ben, how Coach Keefe utilizes these wings because at one point, like I mentioned in the earlier episode, there wasn't that much talent when he came to the wing position, but now you have a plethora of it.
Absolutely. We'll take our first time out here on Locked On Wizards. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation about playmaking, why some ISO ball play that we've seen in years past, why it's not good for development overall for the Wizards. That's next. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions, so whether you're calling your MVP or eyeing a long-shot division winner or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before Week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take a flyer on the MVP race. I know a lot of you locally are going with Jaden Daniels. Great choice right there. Crown your champion in August. Hey, this is the year where we can really say the Commanders could be Super Bowl contenders. Why not place a little future on it on Tuesday? Or parlay your division winner dark horses. Possibilities are endless on Futures Day with FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. The JD5 propaganda for MVP. We're going to continue to spread that here on the Locked On Wizards podcast.
Always, as always, keep on doing it, Ben.
Got to do it, and hopefully we're spreading some Wizard MVP, maybe Trey Johnson MVP propaganda one day on this podcast.
I think we should start off with Rookie of the Year, maybe again reach the MVP.
Maybe. I mean, we've had that conversation if he'll play enough minutes or not to win Rookie of the Year. That's probably the biggest thing that I would say stands in his way at this point. But back to the conversation we were having earlier about ISO basketball that we have seen in years past and why it stunts development. I think we kind of hit the nail on the head already a little bit in the first segment about this, but I just think back to watching this Wizards team last year, and I feel like in the situations where they were able to really create their own shot like Jordan Poole did, they found some success in that realm because Jordan Poole, even though he's a young player, was only 25 last year, still a pretty proven commodity as a scorer in the league. He's a guy that can go out there and get you a bucket whenever you need him to. The Wizards don't have that right now, outside of McCollum, who probably won't be on this team anymore after the deadline. We'll see. Trey Johnson, potentially, but he's just a rookie. We haven't even seen him touch the NBA floor yet, so can't even really make that proclamation for him. And then maybe Cam Whitmore as well. So what does that leave for the possibilities of everyone else offensively? I just feel like offensively, if you're trying to find guys develop their game, and there's a lot of different ways people can develop in this next season, whether it's Bilal Coulibaly shooting from the outside or just showing more confidence, getting into the rim, that's going to come from playmaking from other players around him because I don't think necessarily Bilal Coulibaly, I know we've seen him work on his handle a lot this offseason. He's not going to be that type of player where you're going to give him the basketball on the wing and have him just really go to work with the dribble moves and try to break down his defender. I don't think that's really going to be Bilal Coulibaly's game. I don't think anything in the past 2 years has shown that's going to be his type of game. But I do think he's a guy that is quick with his first step to the basket, and he can handle the ball well enough that if you have the defense break down based on other things happening around, whether you have your point guard breaking down the defense and swinging the ball back out to the wing, or you have a skip pass that comes from the center, Alex Sarr. I think he's going to need to improve as a passer as well. That's going to be a big thing for everyone offensively to get better looks. You're going to have the offense flowing a lot more than it did last year. There were so many games where I'd watch this team play offense, and I just wanted to throw up in my mouth because there's nothing happening. Everyone is standing around, and then a three-pointer goes up, and it ultimately missed most of the time.
And do you think
I can't see that type of basketball.
The one thing I also want to harp on is that with young guys comes a lot of inefficiency. So my thing is, there's going to be a lot of shots taken. How does Coach Keith implement these guys? Is it just more like, yo, you guys, we have to spread the ball? Because I mean, last year I kept on saying it I was feeling how you were feeling, like, bro, what are we doing here? Spread the ball at least two to three touches, then take a shot. But instead, it's just Jordan Poole shot clock down to 10, and then make a move, and then shoot a 35-footer and barely hit the rim. So, again, how much of that is on coaching and how much of it is on the players?
Well, I would say if you're Coach Keefe and you have dudes out there that aren't taking good high percentage shots too early in the shot clock, they got to come out of the game. We got plenty of depth on this team that if you're not out there having your best night or you're not implementing what the staff wants you to do on the floor, there's no reason for you not to go to the bench. Somebody else will take your spot, and that goes for everybody that's on the wing for this team right there. If Chris Middleton is hogging the ball for whatever reason, I don't expect him to be like that, but if he is, if Cam Whitmore looks like a black hole out there, and he, just has tunnel vision trying to get to the basket and scoring the ball. If they don't want that, hey, Will Riley, come off the bench, man. Time for you to get some NBA minutes. I feel like that's the kind of coaching that you can see from this team, is that there has to be lower tolerance for taking bad shots on this team. And it's going to happen. I'm not going to say if you take one bad shot, you'll get benched or whatever, but I don't know. We're going to see, and especially it's going to be important for Alex Sarr because he needs to become better as a passer. I think there's a real dynamic that is just different for a basketball team when you have a big man that can distribute, that can pass the ball well. I mean, just the Joker, man. I know he's the best.
One of one,
man.
man.
He's one of one. He's one of the best players in the world, maybe one of the best players ever at this point. That's how good Nikola Jokic is, especially as a passer. Look how good that Denver team is because of what he does. One, he's just so skilled with the ball around the rim that you always have to have one or two people accounting for him. But the way he passes out of the high post and on the low block, he finds open guys. The whole defense has to rotate when you have a big man that's as skilled as him below the basket. And not to say Alex Sarr is ever going to be as skilled around the rim as Jokic. That would be a super big ask. But if he could move the basketball effectively and make plays for others, that would make him a lot more useful on the floor than people even realize.
And it opens up opportunities for shooters like Kyshawn George or Justin Champagnie or Corey Kispert finds himself in the rotation. That's what makes the Denver Nuggets. You brought up those stats of them being top 5 pass, assist. That's what makes them so effective because you're a big man 7-footer who can not only shoot it from 3, can take it to the rim, can play make. It opens up so many avenues for this young squad. And again, we're not putting that much expectation on Alex Sarr, but if you show flashes of that, utilize it. I mean, this is a guy who came from the Australian League and is still learning how the NBA is. Year 2, very, very young. He wanted to come to DC. He could have gone to Atlanta Hawks but said, hey, I want to come here in DC. So show why you are that cornerstone guy. I still think Alex Sarr could be the best out of Bub and Kyshawn, but we have to see that year 2 offensive jump when it comes to being aggressive and rebounding, man. I need to see this man get at least 9 to 10 rebounds a game. There's just no excuse.
Yeah, he's going to be under the microscope the most, maybe more than anybody.
Oh, for sure, I agree.
On this basketball team, because one, you're a former number 2 overall pick, so your expectations are obviously going to be really high. But the scrutiny that this guy has gone through really since his rookie season, even when he's shown flashes of being good, there's always been the seeds of doubt from people who don't believe in Alex Sarr. And it makes you put into perspective. You really watch closely at some of the criticisms there are to his game. And some of them are pretty valid. Like if you go out and watch exactly what people are talking about, you can see that right away. And really the reason I found out why he was taking so many, low percentage shots from the mid-range, I was talking with a conversation with Josh Lloyd, who does Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Be sure to check out his channel. Does a lot of great work. And he said just from what his tape watching Alex Sarr, he was just kind of confused why the Wizards offense ran that way. And that's almost what inspired me to make this video today, because I went back and I watched myself. I said, you know what? There's some validity to what Josh is saying here. Maybe this isn't the best way for Alex Sarr to get his touches, to try to find his shot, because yeah, his inefficiency is going to really show if he's taking shots like this. It's not really necessarily he's just not skilled. He's just not taking the shots that are right for him. So I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing for him this year and why people are going to be looking so closely at him.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, but I completely agree with you. I think this is a take that I don't know if you agree with me on. When it comes to last-second clutch shots this year, upcoming year, I'd rather see guys like Trey Johnson or Bub Carrington or Alex Sarr take that shot than guys like Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum. What do you think about that?
I would agree with you, one, because you're not really trying to win a whole bunch of games right now. So if you're going to have the game come down to the last shot, which, hey, if you're a Wizards fan, that means you were competitive in the game. So you can take that as the silver lining, or you could be happy about that. And if it comes down to a missed shot at the buzzer, then so be it. But you do want to see guys separate themselves as clutch players at the end of the game. I know Trey Johnson coined himself as a guy that came through in the clutch quite often for Texas. So if he got those opportunities with the Wizards and he came through in a couple of instances, kind of like how Bub Carrington did last year in the final game of the season, that could give you some confidence for things going forward. But yeah, I would agree with you that you'd want some of your younger guys maybe to get that moment, to try to experience what it's like to have the final shot on an NBA floor. Because it does matter at the end of the day. If there's one thing about the Bradley Beal era that really irked me is that, like, this man could not hit a buzzer beater to save his life. I just remember so many Wizards games where they'd be down by one, and they'd have the final possession with Beal, and it was just always a three. Why does nobody take it to the basket? Go get fouled, or just try to get to the rim and make a layup. Why are we taking a lower percentage shot? That was the most frustrating part of Wizards basketball for that phase of mediocrity. They were so unclutch. They never hit big shots at the end of the game to win.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. No one wants to go inside the three-point arc, which is frustrating. But I'm hoping that the young guys will learn that you don't only have to shoot threes. You can go inside. We'll just have to see. But I hope Trey Johnson takes those last second shots because he's going to be the one. Like you mentioned, we don't really have that guy who can say, yo, I'm going to make my own shot. But we're hoping Trey Johnson can be that guy.
Nah, dude, I totally agree. All right. Before we get into the last segment here, we'll have a quick word from OpenPhone. In the next one, we're going to talk about Bilal's jump shot. Does it look a little bit faster? We'll give you an update on him, Alex Sarr, and Kyshawn George as well in the Euro basket. That's next. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need. Maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets me manage business calls and texts from a single app. The shared inbox feature is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat, and their AI agent handles after-hour calls and answers common questions that captures leads so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. We just fly through these things every single time. You just start rambling on and on about Wizards basketball, and just like that, 24 minutes have gone by. This is Locked On Wizards. Thank you for sticking with us throughout the episode today. And throughout the summer, the silver lining for us here is that we've gotten to see some of our guys get some action in the Euro basket. We've talked already a lot about Alex Sarr, Bilal Coulibaly, and Kyshawn George is also playing with Canada. I know there's one episode where we talked about how
I didn't know he was Canadian, Ben, for the longest.
He could have played for 4 different teams. He had the option of playing for 4 different teams, and he chose to play for Canada. So it's really, really interesting stuff for Kyshawn George. But Bilal Coulibaly, I've seen a couple of clips just from getting to watch him play, and his jump shot off catch and shoot opportunities. It looks like he's improved his mechanics a little bit. It looks a little bit faster, and I think that's going to be important for him here in year number 3, Abdullah.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. Again, the jump shot. And if he can create that jump shot, that opens up the opportunity of him taking to the lane. He's already so explosive. But if defenders of opposing teams are trying to contest his shot or play tight defense and go right by him compared to we've seen these past years where they're like, hey, we'd rather let this guy shoot because he can't hit the shot.
Exactly. I mean, just think about all the opportunities that Koulibaly could get in this upcoming season if everything that we've talked about in this episode is come into fruition, where you have guys that break down the defense. If Bub Carrington takes the next step as a ball handler and is able to beat his man off the bounce and get everyone rotating defensively. If you have Koulibaly who spots up and he becomes a consistent knockdown shooter, that's going to help his percentage that much more, because he had a decrease in his 3-point percentage from year number 1 to year number 2. And that was something that gives you, maybe some qualms about how Bilal Koulibaly can develop as an offensive player. But he's got to have the right opportunities. He has to have guys around him that make plays. And if his jump shot really has improved, if the mechanics are better and it is faster, I think that'll make him that much better as a shooter. Update on Kyshawn George, who had 9, 3, and 5 on 50% field goal percentage for Canada yesterday in a win. I said earlier that there's only 3 guys on this team I would say can go out there and just get you a bucket, but after seeing some of the film from Kyshawn George in his most recent game for Canada, maybe he would fit this guy, because they saw one instance where he broke down the defense, he went behind his back, through the legs, and then he spun, got his man off him, and got all the way to the basket and scored.
That's
And
so
I know
disgusting.
George has had like a complete 180 in what he's been able to do in his NBA career out of college, because nobody really expected one, the production they were going to get out of him defensively, and just stocks. He's unbelievable at that. It showed in his rookie
And he got
season.
taller too, Ben, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's probably around 6'9" right now, and the hair probably will make him 7'3" if he keeps on growing it out eventually. But Kyshawn George, the dude, like, he's got legitimate upside with the basketball in his hands, and we saw a little bit of that in the summer league from him as well. If he can get the ball on the deck with a favorable matchup on him, I do like his odds actually to go out there and get a bucket. I like him as a catch and shoot guy, but also if he's someone that you can have create his own shot off the wing as well, that's going to be money for this basketball team. And I mean, he's just got so much upside to his game. That's why I'm so high on him as one of these young players from the emerging class. And the organization has raved a lot about the kind of work he's put in and what they've seen from him. And, the organization, obviously they're going to love to showcase guys that they took in the first round, especially a year ago. But they talk so much about Kyshawn George that something is definitely there for me. They see something in his game that has gotten a lot better.
You talked about his offensive game. Man, defensively, this dude is a menace when it comes to steals and blocks. With his size, his wingspan, I mean, I'm so excited about Alex Sarr, but Kyshawn George, he could actually, I know I keep mentioning, Bub could be the best out of 3, Alex, but Kyshawn George, versatility, the capital V, that's what Will Dawkins loved. We saw all those guys that he drafted him and groomed in OKC, and now you're bringing a guy like Kyshawn George, who at one point last year, I was considering, hey, maybe put him on the Capital City Go-Go, but he went out there, I think it was a game against Phoenix where he dropped 30 points shooting lights out from 3. If he can go to the paint more, he's going to be really, really good. That shot is only going to get better. And his emergence is a big reason why Corey Kispert is basically out the window in Washington.
Yeah. I just think about the season upcoming. I'm so excited to watch it. And, we're at this point because obviously if you don't expect the Wizards to win a lot of games, maybe as a casual fan, you'd be like, why would I even bother watching that team? So I don't want to see them get their butt kicked 82 games of the season. But legitimately, they have dudes that can do some things on the basketball court, and you're going to see that on a night-in, night-out basis. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of handle the plethora of guys they have that can do various different things on the floor at different times. What combinations of lineups are we going to see? How are they going to manage who gets what minutes? How is that going to change throughout the season? That's going to be what I'm looking for, because that's going to be a big part of how guys improve, how people stick out and find out who's going to be here long term when the team is ready to compete. Because as our guy Locked On Law mentioned in the comments of our last video, the most important thing, or the biggest indicator for success in a rebuilding season, is you find out what guys are going to be here and who needs to go. And I think that's exactly what you're going to see next year from this Wizards team. This is going to be a really big year for them development-wise, and really the final year where they have that tank excuse for them to lose a lot of games.
Yep, because year 4 of a rebuild, there's going to be expectations. And those expectations could be making the play-in or not even skip the play-in. You better make the playoffs. It's going to take some time, but this year, the whole idea, the cloud of the top 8 pick is always going to be something that we're going to be harping on after every loss. I think they're going to hit that 20-win mark, 25 maybe if a lot of things go right. But the goal is to see development, see what guys are going to be here long term, and see if you can get any trade assets and maximize the value of the vets like McCollum and Middleton.
Absolutely. That'll do it for us on Locked On Wizards today. We want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave us a comment down below. What do you like? What are you not liking right now about Locked On Wizards? And what do you think about the Wizards being a more team-oriented basketball team next year? Is that going to be important for the development of guys? Let us know your thoughts below. Be sure to check us out on our socials, Locked On Wizards, on Twitter and on Instagram as well, LockedOn_Wizards. Man, just keep helping us grow. We're continuing.
I was going to say, Ben, I'm
coverage.
running out of players when it comes to the shorts. You guys know every single you probably know the coaching staff or the assistant coaching staff when it comes to this franchise. So I'm gonna see if I can still dig up some former players.
I think you gotta come up with a new series that you gotta run up there.
Yeah, because clearly I thought I was the biggest fan, but there are other bigger fans out there.
I think you need a new series for the shorts, something similar, like very quick, short form content that gets people engaged like that. I think you could come up with some ideas. Maybe some people in the comments can give you some new ideas.
Any
for,
ideas
for a new short bit. I think the which former Wizard of this bit's getting a little bit old at this point because everybody knows everyone. They think your bag's not deep enough, AB.
Yeah, I gotta figure out some different form of content. But when I do, I'll definitely do it.
All right. Well, for your second listen today, be sure to check out the Locked On NBA podcast. Doug, Matt, and Hayes will keep you up to date on everything you need to know as we rapidly get to the fall, get closer to Wizards basketball. On Locked On Wizards, we keep it rolling throughout the remainder of the offseason. For my co-host, Abdullah, I'm Ben Strover. Wizards Nation, we are out.